Yeah guys, I'm going to try and squeeze in part 3 while the weather's still nice. It looks like rain's on its way later today and for the rest of the week, so I might just squeeze this one out. Alright, not as planned and prepped as I normally do. I'll just go by the fly of the seat of my pants. And yeah, okay, so basically the part 3 would be dealing with the inner lining of the actual veggie garden system. So what I tend to use is the trampoline matting because it's so durable. Look, you can use almost any fabric, I believe, as long as it actually adheres to what would be air pruning. So air pruning is when, of course, when you so just noticed something. Oh, there we go, fixed it. All right, so air pruning is when the roots actually try and get out looking for water. And when it hits rock, it'll actually go around it. The DNA in the plant basically tells the root to go around it. But if it hits an air pocket, it'll actually terminate. And then the secondary roots will come off the primary root. That's the way I believe it happens. And then those small fine roots are what actually brings the nutrients into the plant. So you can get up to twice the yield if you use air pruning. Now, the trampoline matting, it's might not be everyone's choice. You might not have it available to yourself. You might have other things available. I believe people use jeans, t-shirts, all sorts of things. Like so the more natural, the better. But I don't know how long they would last. The trampoline matting definitely lasts a long time. Like I've got one of the actual linings I use as a template is over 10 years old. And it's still going strong. So all right, so the first thing to do, you've got to deal with the trampoline matting when you get it, is you've got to deal with the edging. Now the edging's like where it's folded over and the stitching. I use a nice cheap little, you can use garden shears or something like that. This is little, I think these secateurs are about $7-8 at Aldi, and they do quite well. That's all you really need. Later on I'll show you some more equipment, but this is what I use, something fairly cheap, because you're actually dealing with these little metal triangles. Now I've tried to actually stick my one prong in there and cut along, and quite time consuming, and sometimes you miss. So what I do now is I actually just cut along between the two. I actually cut that strap right completely off, and then I just shell this. I just take that off later on. So then that goes in the rubbish bucket, and of course that goes in the metal bucket. All right, and then we'll move over to the netting. All right, moving over to the matting. What I found in my experience is if you cut the actual lines along with the weave, it's much easier to bend later on. And what I found is, out of all the different cutters, I cannot recommend these guys enough. They're not cheap, the Fiskars Pro Power Arc, but I got to say, these things cut through. So I mean, these things cut through car tires, as long as you're not getting the steel bit, and they cut through seatbelts a whole lot. So I don't know if you can see the weave, but the weave pretty much, it's very, very roughly along the line. So the folds later on will be with the weave, not against the weave, if that makes sense. Will be aligned with the weave. So that's my template. That's been around for quite a while. And then what I do a rough cut. It becomes a lot more manageable when it's smaller. When you get a little bit of wind, it becomes becomes very unmanageable. So what I'll do is I'll fine tune this off camera. I'll go and get the cuts all on the right spot, and then I'll line one for you. All right, back in a minute. Okay, so when it comes to inserting these or lining them, what we're looking at is the cuts go to each of the corners. So what I need to do, line those up. Got one more cut to make, and as long as that cut goes into that corner, pretty much everything will work itself out. Like I think we call it trim in situ, or you trim while it's in the position. Okay, probably a two-handed job, but you get the idea. Once you get those four corners down, it's just a matter of just pushing it all in, and then once you get it fairly well in, the potting mix or mulch or humus, whatever it is, whatever media you're going to use, that'll actually hold it all in place, and eventually it'll form its shape. So when you when it comes time to pull all this out and redo it, or to reuse the dirt or the potting mix somewhere else, you'll find that it actually will have taken its own shape. Okay, one of the techniques I found that's useful is if I do each one overlapping continuously like that, it actually tends to form a little bit better. It means the slack is taken up by each one. It doesn't have to be perfect, yeah, but once it's done, put some potting mix in, we'll see how we go. For the purpose of this video, I went and just picked up some very cheap potting mix, just all-purpose stuff. This was $3.95 down at my local Bunnings, sorry, Hammer Barn. Yeah, one thing to remember though with potting mix is all organics, no matter what they are. Doesn't matter what they are all harmful to be breathed in because of bacteria. So it doesn't matter what potting mix you use. If you can't control the way it goes in, if you're worried about dust, or if you're elderly or got some sort of respiratory thing, I would absolutely recommend that you use a mask to do this. Just one of those days, just going to get interference after interference. I guess it's one good day. Everyone's trying to finish off their jobs, so got a lot of activity going on around here. Plus it's day one of the pickup for the local hard rubbish, so we've got a lot of extra activity, like last minute activity. We've got council truck coming around picking stuff up. Yeah, it's been a busy day, and I've been trying to slot in little windows of opportunity to get things done. But anyway, so what I found is with the potting mix, I don't particularly want to pay for something I can make myself. However, what I have found is that when you're actually planting new plants, they don't use the bottom layer, the bottom half of one of these in the first few weeks. So it doesn't particularly matter what it is, really. It could be polystyrene. Well, not that I'd use that, but some people do. But yeah, I just like to hand feed it in, so that way I can keep pushing it out towards the corners each time and get a nice tight fit. All right, so once I get to about halfway, I'll probably swap over to the go and raid the bottom of the compost bin and see how I go with that. And what I do like to do, sometimes I put a bit of sand in with this just to break it up, keep it nice and loamy, so it doesn't, you don't want too much clay because then the roots will really struggle. All right, so that's not a bad little base. That's also because of the amount of wood in this, it's quite a cheap potting mix. There's quite a bit of wood fibre that should soak up the moisture and keep it in there for a little while. Okay, so I raided the bottom of the compost bin, and this is what lawn clippings looks like after 6 months of being in the compost. So this is from the bottom. It's put it in from the top and you dig it out from the bottom in little access panels. So I'll be putting that in on top. Probably mix a layer. So therefore, oh, that's a leaf. Mix a little bit in so it's not just a complete layer. That way it won't form layers, make it easier to get through. And then yeah, I'll probably mix in a little bit of sand with this, and got more air traffic. All right, I'll show you what it looks like in a little while. All right, now have another crack at this. So this is sand that I've prepared earlier on for was actually going to be going into for the foundations of rebuilding my driveway, but so it turns out that I have a use for it now, so I'm going to yeah, just commandeer that. So this just puts a bit of weight in it once it mixes up. That way you can actually, it's a bit too soft when it's just the lawn mulch, so that way it actually has a bit of body to it, and it will hold the whatever you actually transplant, it'll actually hold it in, it won't fall over. All right, so I'll keep mixing that up, but guys, that's, well, obviously I'll be filling it a bit higher, but that is what it looks like once it's done. Quite easily to push around with your feet. It's actually quite a good little system. All right, I'm going to plant that up, and I'll do another video later on and show you how it's growing.